Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Hi, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to tie a Dodi on your Kirpan. Basically what a Dodi is this yellow rope tied around this golia. The purpose of the Dodi is basically to make sure that the Kirpan doesn't fall out. So that is why it is secured by this piece of rope here. If you loosen the rope, obviously the Kirpan will become loose and come out. If you put the rope back on, then it will be secured. You would mainly want to do this if you're carrying around a golia or any shastra that you have, or if you were transporting it around. So it's a good use to have to make sure it's secure. The other place that a Dodi is basically used is on Taksali Kirpans. And with Taksali Kirpans, basically the only reason you would do it is to have it for when you do Ishnan. And what I've seen Sanganiyas basically do is just keep a Dodi around, and so when they take a shower, then they can basically just take the case off of the Kirpan and be able to, do their Ishnan and then just put their case back on when they're done. So that kind of avoids the whole putting the gatra on the star and going through all that. So it just makes it a lot more simple. So now that you know about what the Dodi is used for, and I'm pretty sure you're eager to learn how to do it, let's go ahead and start. Alright, so let's get started with doing the Dodi on the Kirpan. As you notice, my setup isn't the most professional setup out there. There are two dumbbells. They're only 15 pounds each. They aren't very impressive, but this is all I could do at short notice. So, we do with what we have, right? Alright, so let's dive in. Here's the rope for our Dodi right here. It isn't anything too long, but it's going to get the job done for your basic Dodi that you're doing around a, regular Kirpan, whatever shastra that you have. So let's start off. Just make sure you run this this axis through the bottom, because our first loop is going to start out with having that. Make sure your the end of the rope that you have here, make sure there's a little bit hanging out, but nothing too excessive, just because when we are creating our other loops and knots, we're gonna be able to make more than just only like 2 or 3. We want to be able to make enough just so that it looks clean, that there's not too much excess rope at the end. Makes everything a lot simpler, makes it look neat and nice. So let's continue. So yep, we have that run through there. Then we're going to take this end of the rope, making sure that doesn't fall down. This end of the rope here, and we're going to run that through the same loop that we created before, which just wraps around the Kirpan. We're going to make sure we get those two through that like that. And I also suggest that you don't make these too tight, but just make them tight enough so that they don't fall while you're doing your Dodi. And so your next loop is going to run through the top here. It's going to run through the top like this, just like that. And then the end of the rope is going to go under the Kirpan and out through the top here. And we're going to obviously not tighten too much, just enough. And we're going to have that, try to clump it together just so it doesn't get all over the place, but it's inevitable for it to do that. And so this is an alternating pattern, just to keep that in mind. So they're just going to be switching off from one pattern to the other each loop. And so here we're going under the Kirpan. Instead of going over it, we're going under it. And then we're just going to take the excess and just pull it through the top like that. And you can already see that there's a pattern going on here where there's like 2 ropes running through one arc that we've created. So it gives it a nice little design. And we'll make one more going through the top here, that, and then one going through the bottom, just like that. So we have created 3 arcs, and due to the limited size that we have of the rope, we're just going to do this much. So this should be enough to reach the top of the Kirpan. Shouldn't be an issue. But obviously, you adjust this end a little bit more if you're having issues with this being too short to reach your Kirpan, so that you can always adjust that, prior to starting it. But keeping it a little bit longer just helps you make sure this stays tight throughout. If you make it too short, it's going to be tougher to make it tighter. So I would just suggest keeping it a little bit longer. But if you can't, you can't. You deal with what you have. So next step is going to be just running this part through the bottom of these little loops that we've made around the Kirpan. So we're just going to do that right now. Try to run it through 2 at a time. Let me do that. Yep. Just do one more, and there we are. It has run through the bottom just as we needed it, and we have excess loop right here that will reach the Kirpan. And actually, this will be just fine to reach any normal Kirpan. Shouldn't be a problem. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start off with, like I said before, we're going to clump it together a little bit. Just makes the tightening of this a lot simpler, and make sure that your like knots are on the side of the Kirpan. We'll just tighten this bottom one up, then we'll tighten up the next, so on and so forth. Just keep tightening them up. And so that's what it looks like. Right there. It's all tightened up, very nice. And so there's your Dodi right there. So, very simple way to use it. This is to tighten when you do that, and this is to release and make it looser. So that is how you do a Dodi on a Kirpan of this size. Alright, so now let's get started with the Dixali Kirpan and doing a Dodi on there. It's actually very simple, it's very easy. It's exactly the way we did it on the Golia previously. So this shouldn't be too hard, it's just following the same exact pattern. It's just a little bit more of a different length of the Dodi that you have of the rope. It's just a different length that you would need for it. But seeing as this is the only length that I have, we'll make do with it, and I can explain exactly what you would need if you wanted to do a standard Dodi to wear with your Kirpan. So when actually using this as a gatra, almost as which would be a Dodi for this Kirpan, you would want to have a similar length to that of your gatra. So it's just going to act as your gatra, be the same thing. Obviously, just during Ishnan, it would be the practical use for it. So let's start off. The same thing applies, the same starting point, the same loop. All you want to do is actually just keep this a lot longer than you did before, because this is going to act as the way for you to connect it so that it can basically become a gatra almost to the other end. So we're going to just start off the same way. We're going to run a loop under here, run a loop right under there. We'll keep this quite long, and we'll run it about that much just for the sake of this preview here, and then run another one. And there you have your first knot. And also, I want you to note that these knots can be tight, because you're not going to be running anything through it at the end, so I would suggest you just kind of keep them tight. Make sure they're nice and strong. So then we're going to run our next loop through, which is just going to be going from the top over and coming out through the bottom, just like that, pulling it to the side, following the same convention as we did before. Then we go through the bottom, create a loop, and we come out on top. Again, it's an alternating pattern you want to make sure you stick to the pattern and you don't stray away from that. And then the next one, be at the top, coming through at the bottom, tighten that part up, and then the next one, be at the bottom, and you come out through the top. And there you go. As you can see, it's the same exact pattern, 2 ropes running through an arc here, and we'll just do 3 because the more we go throughout, it's going to make it just going to make the rope a lot shorter to show for this demonstration. And so you have these 2 ends here like this. One is longer than the other. This will happen. I would have preferred it not to happen to this much length, but we'll just use it for this purpose and just kind of go with it. You'll get the idea of how this is supposed to work, and you can adjust it based on your style and design preference of how this rope is being tied. But so the first knot that we would want to do is we want to keep quite a bit of length before we get to the final knot. And so I know this is probably not going to ever fit anyone, but again, for demonstration purposes, keep this much out and just go through a regular knot with the 2 ropes. This one would be the first one. Make sure there's enough room. And there you go, that's the first one. Then you make the second one. And you could obviously make more, depending on the length that you have. And so that's sort of what becomes of it. But there's a lot of different designs that you can do. You can do different kinds of braids with the rope. There's just a myriad of different designs you can do that look way better than this. But to serve its purpose, this is how it would kind of go. Because just so that when you have a long rope, you want to be able to do something with it. So this is a good way about going about doing it, and it secures it quite a bit. So that's the other plus side of it. And then you could obviously right here just do another one, but it seems too small to do it. And then this end here, like I said, would have another a few different knots, a few different designs that you can go about doing it. But this is sort of the general way of doing a very simple Dodi, but still it looks nice if you were to wear it. Make sure that the knots and pretty much the arcs here are here at the edge. And you want to make sure it's on this side and not on this side, because when you're wearing a Dodi and when you actually take this out, this the only way it's going to stay the proper way on your side, the way that your regular Kirpan stays within the gatra, is if you do it on this side. So just be mindful of that. This is a very simple way to do it on a Texali Kirpan. So this is very similar to the way we did on the Golia. You can apply this to any other Kirpan, any other shastras, and it will work each and every time, I guarantee it. I hope you found this video useful. Doing a Dodi around your Kirpan is a very good idea, obviously to keep it secure, and then obviously on your Texali Kirpans to be able to do Ishnan with it and never be away from your shastra, which is very important for us to do as Amritari Sikhs. So if you have any questions about the Dori in any way, please feel free to message me and or drop a comment, and I will answer your question very quickly so that can be addressed fast. And also, if you have any requests for any future videos about any how-tos for within something in the realm of Sikhi, I will have no problem in making a video and sharing my knowledge with you. That's why I've created this channel, is to share whatever knowledge I have about Sikhi, and the Nahanga lifestyle with you guys, so that you sort of have that connection between sort of the Nahanga side of the Sikhi and then through a YouTube channel. So I hope you found it useful, and I will be uploading more videos very soon, and I hope you
enjoy these videos. Alright, thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.